Hello, I'm just here to explain my final project, so let's get right into it. I picked the Business Profit and Loss Report program. The instructions were to build a graphical user interface, or a GUI, that has a button that prompts the user to select a file containing 20 records of sales transactions. Once the user selects the text file, you are supposed to show a detailed profit and loss report, as well as a bar graph illustrating the profit and loss. So I'll just start off explaining the transaction file with all the sales records. Alright, so the five categories that were supposed to be included in here were item, buying price, selling price, units purchased, and units sold. As you can see, there's 20 of them. These are all, I just made them up. Kind of like an electronics store would have, something like that. Alright, and then the next text file we were supposed to write was a profit and loss report. And here you see each item that was on the last list, and then it explains how to figure out the expenses for each item, the revenue that each item brought in, and then whether it brought a profit or a loss or neither. Alright, and then we are supposed to graph this, what the profit and loss report showed. That's right here. And I just numbered each item on the bottom instead of putting the whole name. And on the y-axis is the profit and loss in dollars for each item. Alrighty, let's get into the actual program itself. Alright, so to start, I had to import tkinter, everything from tkinter. That's how you create the GUI. Next, I had to import ask open file name from tkinter file dialog. This helped create a button that worked and opened a file. So after this, I created a class, and underneath this class, well, before that, set up a class and these roots. The root, this class just brings up a basic graphical user interface frame with nothing on it. And here, the root, I titled it sales transactions, and the geometry is just how big of a pop-up comes up. Alright. And then I created under that a function to initialize it so that it opens up the GUI. And then I created, to create a label and a button, I created the widgets function. And right here I created a label that I titled instructions. And it reads, please press the button below. And right here, this next line, grid, row, and column, this is where it's placed in the GUI when it's open. After that, I created a button that the user could press, and it reads record of sales transactions, and it has a command, self open transaction file, and I placed a button on the grid right below the label, and underneath that I created the function open transaction file, which gets opened right here in the button. So this function, it reads the file that I created and showed you guys first, and once it reads it, it splits it at all the commas and then prints it onto the terminal. After that's done, I created a string that asks the user to press enter when they're finished reviewing the items and all that information. And if the user presses enter, once they're done reviewing those numbers, I prompted it to read the profit loss report that I showed you guys and print that onto the terminal as well. So we'll just run it real quick, show you how it works. Alright, so when you start it, it brings up the GUI over here, sales transaction with my label, please press the button below, and then the button I named record of sales transactions. When you click that, it brings up all the information over here. Alright, so I had a minor problem there, but we got it figured out now. Back to where we were. Alright, so I'll just run it now. That's the last thing I gotta do. Nice and slow. When you run it, it brings up the GUI, sales transactions, label, button. Click the button, and it brings up the transaction file and all the items in there. And then it says to close the pop-up and press enter when you're done reviewing all these numbers. You do that. It brings up the profit and loss report. Tells you profit and loss on each item. And that's basically it. So there it is.